And now it's time for another job on the car. Today, it's going to be the first performance upgrade this car has seen. We're taking off the old one-barrel carburetor and intake assembly and changing it for other parts I have prepared. Here's a factory 2-barrel iron intake with an adapter plate to fit this 2-barrel Holley 350 carburetor on it. And it's, not a huge change, but, certainly better than what it has. The one barrel is less than half that capacity. And there's some parts for it that have to go on to hold the kickdown linkage and other things. So, I was just standing here looking at this thing and thinking, you know what? The last time I took apart that whole assembly and pulled it off the motor was roughly 23 years ago. 23 years. And the parts don't change over time, and so doing it now is, it's like I just did it, even though it was 23 or so years ago. And that means, if I did this 23 years ago, and there was no problem then, that means I'm getting older, at least by 23 years. So, anyhow, I am going to start on this, and take some video along the way, and commentary, and see how it runs afterwards. Look at this tiny little one-barrel carburetor. I've heard 150 or 180 CFM of flow through it. Either way, it's not enough. I have tested this car on several hills in the area for power, and in each case, from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill, I step on the gas most of the way, and I might pick up anywhere from 2 to 4 miles an hour by the time I get to the top of the hill. So that is my metric to compare with a new one and see how it does. I have other improvements planned, but this is the first step. The hardest part will be the transmission kickdown linkage. Not that it's hard to do, but I didn't get all the original factory parts for the 2-barrel conversion, so I'm going to have to fabricate some pieces and make it work right. And you have to have that, or you will mess up the transmission pretty quick, pretty bad. From the late 70s and early 80s, Chrysler offered this 2-barrel Super 6 intake manifold as a performance upgrade. Some of the manifolds were cast iron, some were aluminum. This one, unfortunately, is an iron one. It is 21 pounds by itself. I painted it in the original factory blue color, because that's the way it should be. And now we're going to have one nice painted blue part on a 52-year-old engine where nothing else is even close to blue. So, the right way would be to pull the whole engine out, clean and redo everything and paint it all in one shot, but one thing at a time here. And here's the new, I got this thing for half price from someone selling it on Facebook Marketplace, and it appears to be brand new. I took it apart, checked it, made sure everything was set right, and it should be good. We'll see how it works. And here are a few of the extra pieces I have, the brackets for the kickdown linkage and such things. Initial disassembly done, all the brackets and hoses and things like that are out of the way. Now for the fun part. All these bolts on top have to come off to take the manifolds off the cylinder head, and there are just as many bolts on the bottom side. You just have to get the extensions out and reach and feel your way in there and get them all loose. And then, when that's done, since I'm not taking off any extra brackets or this AC line, you have to lift that manifold assembly about 50 to 60 pounds straight up out of there and to the back to get it around everything. That'll be fun. Now we're about to do the fun part. I've got all of the bolts out except for one. And I don't mean this bolt right here. I'm leaving this bolt in for now. It's loose, just to hold everything up. But down in there, there's one more nut I have to take out. and I have my extensions here, but because of the manifold and everything, you can't get at it straight. I'm like this, the socket is in like that, and you can't turn it straight to get on it. This iron's in the way, this whole base is in the way. Now the one on this side was no problem, go right into it. But this side here, I have to get my U-joint and socket on there and wiggle it around until it gets on the nut and I can take it loose. That's the rule when working on any car. There's always one. There's always one nut or bolt or something that is in the way or you can't get to it, and taking out one bolt out takes more time than taking out 10 other bolts. Anyone who's worked on a car knows that. But I'll get it. Okay, it's running now. Alright, now for the fun part. Oh yeah, I have a camera operator today too, holding the camera for once. I have to lift this whole manifold assembly out of here in one shot, missing everything and getting it around this and around that and not hitting that and getting it past this. And that's about 55 or 60 pounds right there. So, let's see how this goes. I'm just taking this last nut out first. Hold on. Let's keep it running. It'll definitely work better if you take out all the nuts. Okay. Oh, that wasn't so bad. I thought it'd be a lot worse. Disassembly is complete. Now I gotta fix up some stuff here, clean all that up, put it back together, and drop it all back in there. I get these triangle washers. I have more, but I will save all the parts I can save. Because when you're dealing with a 52-year-old car, you can't just find the bits and pieces any old place. Here's one of the reasons why this car has no power. Look at this. You can see where the dark line is, the size of the manifold. And what does it do? As soon as the exhaust gas comes out, it hits this sharp edge and has to go down a much smaller pipe. That is not how you make good horsepower. That's bad right from the start. I took the gasket off. It came off almost all in one piece. That was easier than I thought it would be. Now here's the main improvements I'm going to do. We're going to open up this outlet a little bit. I got this tool at the auto parts store and measured it with my dial caliper. This side is 2.25 inches. This side, 2.40. Well, looking at it, even at 2 1/4, to grind it out big enough to fit that 2 1/4 down in there is going to be quite a bit of grinding. So, I've been told it can be round out to 2 1/2, but I'm not going to go that far, because I think we're just barely 2 inches the way it is. So after that, I'll improve the exhaust ports just a little bit so they're not hanging over the edge of the gasket, and then it'll be ready to reassemble. And we have a tool to do it with, some carbide cutters. I borrowed this off of someone to do the grinding work. Let me touch it here and see what happens. we got the surface in here all cleaned up. That's good. A little more smoothing out and it's ready to reassemble on that surface anyhow. We got the manifold surface on the head all cleaned up. A little more and it'll be ready to reassemble. And here is after we ground it out for about a half an hour. Made it about 3/16 of an inch bigger. Here's the small side of my gauge. And now it doesn't go down in there, but it is better than it was before. And I don't expect a huge gain from this, but a little bit less restriction of flow. One more horsepower is one more horsepower. It was off, I had a chance to do it, so I did it. I have encountered a complication during assembly. That nut is supposed to go on that bolt, but that bolt is right up against the adapter plate with no room for a nut, and I'm not grinding out that adapter plate for that. And then over here I have another problem. This bolt goes down through there, but I can't put it back down through there because the adapter plate's in the way. And I'm not breaking this seal I got on this thing just for that. So I may have to get some threaded rod and some nuts or something, because I'm not taking this loose. That thing is sealed good. Permatex #2 non-hardening, both sides of the gasket. It's tightened down carefully. I'm not messing that up. Now that bolt's broke off, so I'm not going to worry about that one. That bolt we can't get on because there's no room. And now there's this one. Now I don't really need those bolts on there, but that would hold the manifolds together and keep it from having a vacuum leak. I mean an exhaust leak. But, close enough. It'll carbon up eventually. We'll see. And now, here is the next problem. I thought I'll just get a longer threaded bolt and thread it up through the bottom and then put a nut on top up here. Fine, no problem, right? Except that the bolt is long enough that it goes under the edge of that thing, and I guess I could bump it around with a wrench enough times to get it past it, but if that bolt was a ½ inch shorter, it wouldn't be a problem. It's always something when you're working on a car. There's always something that's in the way, messing up the whole project. Finally, I got it on. I'll wait to tighten it until everything is bolted together, but the first bracket that has to be in that place is in place. Alright, now it is time to put the rebuilt assembly back in there without dropping it or damaging anything. What are we hanging up on? Now we're catching the exhaust pipe. Of course, I knew that would be in the way. Okay. It's on. I need a nut of any kind just to throw one in here. Just so it doesn't fall back off. Alright, okay. The heavy work is done. Now I just have to hook up everything else. Carburetor, fuel system, vacuum lines, exhaust pipe, kickdown linkage, throttle cable, air cleaner, all the little stuff. Okay. Alright, now I am putting these triangle washers back on to hold the manifolds on. Now look down here, you see that? You see how short that bolt is? How am I going to reach my hands in there to get this on? And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with this, the 1/4 inch drive extension. What I'll do is, I'll take that there, I'll slide that on there, I'll get it down in there, I'll take the screwdriver, and I'll go like that with it right there, and it'll be on. We can try to film it here and see how long it takes me to do it. It's saving me. Now the problem here is you can't hold your arm the right way to spin this into position. I will do the best I can. I'll put this right up against the end of that bolt, and I'll take this and I'll just slide it on down the extension, and now it's on the bolt.
You got the greasy side out on.
Okay, we've got the manifold assembly back in place. The braces are tight, the exhaust system is tight. I took off the unnecessary belt up there. So that's the hard part. Now I just have to do everything else. Vacuum lines, fuel line, air cleaner, throttle cable assembly, return spring, kickdown assembly, and probably some other stuff too. But the hardest part is done. And we have this nice bright blue intake with old paint all around it. Okay, we have it connected enough to run. I have to crank it a few times to get the fuel bowl filled up with gas, and then maybe it'll start. I got a 1-gallon jug of water standing by in case things don't go as planned. Wow, that was the first crank on a totally dry carburetor. It filled up and ran. Except I heard an exhaust leak because I didn't tighten down this bolt over here. So let me try that and see if that makes it better. Okay, I tightened the intake to exhaust manifold bolt. We'll see if that's enough to make it quieter. Okay, I know what I have to do. It's not something I wanted to do. I have to take loose all these top manifold bolts so the manifolds can come together and tighten up and then re-tighten everything. That's the bolts in the top. They're easy to get to, so it's not too terrible, but I gotta do it. And now it's time for the third startup. I only had to take loose 5 bolts. The 5 bolts on the top of the intake tighten them back together back here, and then retighten these. We'll see what this does. Still more of an exhaust leak than I would like to see, but otherwise seems to be good. This thing fired right up and idles on its own. Way better than the old carburetor ever did. I'm going to try to turn the idle speed down a bit though. Okay, it is about an hour later. I loosened up the manifolds, spread them apart, took a second steel gasket and slid it in there between the intake and exhaust to hopefully seal it up. So let's see if it's a lot quieter now. It is not quieter. The leak must be somewhere else. The easy job is starting to get complicated. Okay, now we are back to try this again. I put in all 3 bolts to hold the manifolds together, and a lot of orange silicone RTV on both sides of the steel gasket. So now it's being held together right and will stay in place. I had to get my Dremel grinder and grind out a notch there to get that bolt in there, that nut in there. So now we could, should, and had better be good for no more exhaust or intake leaks at all, ever. So I'm going to go in there, throw this on, fire it up, and see what happens. And if I hear an exhaust leak, I'm not going to be happy. Okay, it's time to make the big move. I've got sealer all over the manifold surfaces. It's time to drop this in here in one move. Don't mess it up. Get it in there. And just set it straight on. And get one nut in so it can't fall off. Okay. It's in place. Now I have to put all the nuts and bolts in. Okay, everything is bolted back together again. It's all ready to start it up and see what happens again. It better be quiet. If I hear any exhaust leaks, I'm not going to be happy. Let's see how it goes. That is a lot better. No exhaust leaks. It's idling way too fast, but I'll handle that. So, success the second time. And having worked in these cars many, many years ago, I should have known to do that the first time. To make sure those manifolds are bolted together and sealed up and tight. Not just, oh, 1 bolt out of 3 is enough. It won't leak. Yeah, it did. Oh boy. And I think I mentioned it before, but I saw the metal gasket when I took it out. 1 corner was nice and shiny. 3/4 of it fully layered with carbon from all the leaking, because only one corner had a bolt. That corner was down tight. The rest of them were wide open. Ugh. Now there you go, a nice 800 RPM idle. I did not realize with this Holley carburetor that when the choke is closed, the throttle is partway open. Oh, okay. I gotta push this red thing down to open the choke and close the throttle, then the idle screws can have some effect. Now it's a nice 800 idle. That's where it should be. So I'm learning, figuring things out. I've never used one of these carburetors before, so I gotta play around with it. Now I can calm down and relax a little more. It's got a good idle to it. I just have to now hook up the throttle cable and the kickdown linkage to the transmission. Get things a little more tuned, adjusted, and figured out. And then we can go drive it. And I have an air cleaner on order because the last one was too big. So the important part's done. The exhaust leaks are fixed. It'll idle, it'll start very easily and idle nicely. So we're getting there. I got the transmission throttle lever kickdown rod out. We have to modify a few bends and then reassemble it and see how close to right it is. And several days later, we're back to do more. I got the air cleaner ready. It was recommended get an air cleaner off a mid-1990s Dodge Dakota pickup truck. And that's what I did. I ordered a 14-inch air cleaner online, but it was too big. The front of it was hitting these things here. And so was this air cleaner. It was touching this line, could not fit. So I modified it a little bit. I cut out a notch in the front there so we could clear it. It has the air inlet there. It'll get some air from there. So that'll be good. And the air cleaner fits everything else as well. It fits the front of it in between the brake master cylinder and the AC compressor. It misses the brake booster. It doesn't hit anything underneath there. So yay, we got a air cleaner that works. I'll clean it and paint it once I test drive the car some. No sense painting it now if for some reason why I can't use it. But air cleaner, that's taken care of. Now some would say, Tim, go online and get a small, cheap 11-inch chrome air cleaner. And that's the problem. I hate chrome. The chrome the car was built with, like the chrome bumpers, that's fine. But I don't want any chrome added on anywhere else. I hate chrome valve covers. I hate chrome air cleaners. I hate any chrome that wasn't put there by the factory. I could have sanded and painted a chrome air cleaner, but I thought, well, the chrome might not stick too well and the paint would come off, and so I'll just get one of these. And this is a factory equipment air cleaner too. Not for this car, but at least it's a Chrysler original part. Somewhat modified. But we got the air cleaner part resolved. Here's one change I would like to make. That black rubber hose is the fuel line, and I don't want it sitting so close to the cylinder head and exhaust manifold. Only problem is the fuel line comes out of the carburetor at a 45-degree angle, and it either has to go under that metal brace or get bent pretty sharply to go above it somehow. I'm going to have to move it around and try something with that, because I don't want it sitting that close to a source of heat. I'm prepared for this test drive. I'm taking with me a gallon jug of water and an automotive fire extinguisher. Not that I think I did anything wrong, but maybe a manufacturing defect in some part may cause a failure, which I then have to handle. Well, we went for our first real test drive, and it was good. The car runs nicely on this new carburetor. It does have a little more power going up hills. I tested it on one or two hills, and my speed gain from the bottom to the top was more in about the 8-mile-an-hour range, possibly 10, as opposed to the 3 to 5 of the old carburetor. Only problem is, I need to run premium fuel in this thing. I can't give it full throttle because it'll start pinging. I'm running 90 octane ethanol free gas in it now, and I would like to stick with ethanol free, but there's no ethanol free in my area higher than 90 octane unless I go to racing fuel, which is well over 100 octane but much more expensive. So I could run 93 octane premium, but it has ethanol in it. So maybe I'll run this gas tank down to empty, and I'll try it and see how it runs like that. Just the big thing is, when it comes time to park the car for winter, have to run ethanol free through it several times to flush out all the ethanol gas, and not let it sit with ethanol for months at a time. Well, that's one more successful job on the car. Now I'll find something else to do.